to Norway. My name is Eline Oftedal and I am a knitwear designer. I design mostly knitting patterns for English-speaking magazines. Today I would like to share with you some of my sources of inspiration that are traditional Norwegian sweaters. Surprise! I live and work in Norway. I have here some of my vintage collection of traditional sweaters. You probably recognize the black and white patterns that you can see in most of these. This is a 1960s more sort of updated look. And I also have the traditional Norwegian costume here that we will normally wear on our Constitution Day, 17th of May. But what I want to share with you is a little bit of the history of why do we add embroidery to our beautiful knitted sweaters. So let's take a closer look at these sweaters and their embroidered cuffs and necklines. As you might have noticed, I'm wearing one myself. This is a bit of a modern version without the stitch pattern, the classic stitch pattern, but the classic embroidery. So why add this embroidered wool to an otherwise perfectly beautiful sweater? Well, I think the history dates back to when fabric was very expensive in Norway. People were poor, mostly farmers, and the wonderful brocade of continental Europe was too expensive for most people. So peasants, farmers, other people would have wool, fabric, which is the background here, and they would have a small amount of dyed wool in different colours, which would make up the embroidery. And it would only be used for making the most beautiful clothes, the Sunday best, the christening parties, weddings and so on and so forth, the big events in life. And with the national costume here, you can see it still has the wool fabric as the base, just as the cardigans have. And I think that as they were making these, of course there would be a little bit of scrap left over here, there and everywhere, as it always is. And that would be embroidered and put onto the cardigans. Wool, particularly black and white, was very cheap. And if you added these beautiful cuffs here, then it would sort of lift the appearance of this cheap woolly sweater quite a bit actually. And it would also make it last a bit longer because you had a protection along the cuff with the fabric that would wear slightly better than just a knitted cuff. And you can clearly see from this here, the colours and everything, and if I show you this, just a second here, together with the apron of my national costume, you can clearly see where this embroidered cuff has got its inspiration from, and most likely also its fabric. They're very, very similar. The other thing I'd like to share with you about these is that you can pinpoint their geographical origin from both the embroidery and also the stitch pattern. This one, which is the same as the one I'm wearing, a little bit different colours, artistic liberty from the one who embroidered it to change colours and so on. Both the stitch pattern, which we call Setesdal, and the embroidery comes from the valley of Setesdal in the southern part of Norway. This one, on the other hand, slightly different stitch pattern and different embroidery, and it comes from the region of Telemark, same as the bunad. And you can see the embroidery looks very much like the same as on the bunad as we just saw when I showed it together with the apron. I've got one over here, which is slightly different. To the untrained eye, it's very difficult to see the difference between all these black and white patterns, but if you've grown up with them, you quickly recognise the small, subtle differences, and that tells where they come from. This is called Valdres, and it comes from a valley or mountainous region in the central southern parts of Norway, and it's the same with the embroidery here. It's recognised as the Valdres embroidery, and you will also find the same kind of embroidery in the national costume, the bunad from the region. So today, not a lot of people have the time or the patience to put this back here. Let's see, to make these anymore with they knit, which takes time, but you can easily knit one of these in a month or 2 or 3, but the embroidery takes a long time, so they're quite hard to come by new ones. I have collected these, bought them at flea markets and second-hand stores, and you can still come by them. I'm just going to show you at the very end here what also is possible to come by. And that is that when the actual sweater is worn out, some people cut off the embroidery and they sew it on because it still has life left in it. And like with this one that I bought second hand, you can add the green lining here. That's probably the part that got the most wear and tear, and then just stitch it onto something new, a new sweater or an old sweater. I also have the neckline here. I don't know if you can see it, but so I can just add the contrast colour, green or whatever I choose, and then stitch it onto something new. So they do have a long life and they do recycle very easily. And this is what I wanted to show you today, my collection, or part of my collection I must admit, of my vintage hand knitted and hand embroidered traditional Norwegian sweaters. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.